Hey folks, Stephen Lucky here, back at Gardopia Gardens. Thank you again for tuning in today. Hopefully y'all aren't tired of seeing me yet. Today in this session, we're going to be talking about irrigation. And so we know that plants need hydration to stay alive. And down here in South Central Texas, and depending on wherever you are in the world, water is going to be a key concern of getting your crops to yield so that you can harvest fresh organic produce year round for yourself, your family, and your friends. This irrigation setup I have is twofold. I have two different ways that I'm going to show you. This is a raised bed here that has a half-inch drip tubing. Okay, so the first thing, once you have your water source, right? So you have your main line. You're going to need to tap into your main line. Your main line is probably going to have a ton of water pressure, 90 psi, 100 psi, and what that can do is that can blow the emitters, and I'll talk about these emitters in a little bit. So we need to reduce our water pressure. They make these things here called water regulator pressures or pressure reducers. And this is going to reduce my pressure to 25 psi, pounds per square inch. That's what these are made for, 25 psi, all right? Inside of this little contraption, you will see that it has also a filter. So this filter is going to filter out any of the large particles so that that doesn't clog these emitters. All right. So not only do we have a pressure regulator, we also have a filter. So it's a 2-in-1. This is going to be one of the first things that you're connecting into your main line. All right. So this connects into your main line. The next thing you want to do is you want to have a timer. Let me put this to the side. You can do a low-tech timer. This is a hose timer. This would connect directly into your hose spigot. Okay, so you have your spigot that you turn on and off. This would connect to your spigot with if you're going that route. If you're going that route, then you may want to connect to your pressure regulator afterwards. All right, so this timer allows you to toggle between setting the time, setting the start time, how long is it going to run, how often. It has off, and then you can run it auto, and it also has a rain delay. You can press the plus sign and it'll set it for a rain delay of 12 hours, 24 hours, 48 hours, because there's no reason to water if it's raining, right? So this is an easy DIY timer. If you wanted to take it up to the next level, then you can actually set up a irrigation system that is more complex, and it can essentially control more than one zone. So the timer that I just showed you, it's only going to control one zone, and the idea of you're not going to be able to run one garden for 10 minutes and another garden for 20 minutes. And that may be important for you, especially if you're trying to increase your food production. You're going to have different crops that require different amounts of water. And so this right here is going to allow us to do up to 6 stations or 6 zones. So that means I could have 6 garden beds that get different amounts of water, or I could have 6 fields that get different amounts of water. It's a little bit more intricate to set up. This is the timer, and the timer has to connect to a control valve. So this timer is going to send a signal through these electrical wires to this control valve. This is the diaphragm and a solenoid. The solenoid has a magnet that controls the opening and the closing of the valve. All right. So this will be separate from this. And you see, I have half-inch drip line or half-inch PVC. These are made for 1-inch PVC. There's a ton of different contraptions and adjustments and reducers that will allow you to go from 3/4 to 1-inch to half-inch. You can really tailor it to whatever your existing plumbing system is. Here at Gardopia, we have half-inch copper that was installed, who knows, a century ago. So we have to tap into half-inch. That's why we have this here. You can have multiple control valves. So this is 6 stations, like I said earlier. You could have 6 of these, and you'd have one going to each area of your growing spaces, okay? This is really cool because this can, again, be set for multiple areas, and they're making really high-tech ones that can operate off of Wi-Fi. So you could be in Hawaii, sipping your pina colada, checking your water. If there's a leak, it'll tell you that water's running when it's not supposed to be running. So utilizing technology to the best of our ability so that, I understand in the 21st century that it's very difficult to find time for your garden. And so this is one of the ways that you can decrease the amount of time that you have to put into growing food. Life happens, you get sick, you got family, you want to sleep in. All of these things happen. And if you forget to water your crops, then they're not going to grow as well as they should. One of the other reasons that drip line irrigation is so efficient and is 90% efficient, is one of the best ways to water your crops, is because it drips it nice and slow. So I'm going to go ahead and transition into the drip line itself. All right. So the drip line is right here. And this is 1/2 inch tubing with an emitter every 18 inches, okay? And these emitters are pressurized so that they only release 1 gallon per hour per emitter. And so if you have 10 emitters, then you're gonna get 10 gallons in that hour. When you drink water, you probably don't just dump all the water on you at one time, right? Like, you can't absorb it all. What do? You take sips slowly, right? Well, guess what? Your plants want to sip slowly too. They're going to absorb that water slowly. That's why one of the reasons when you have rain that your plants grow voraciously, in addition to the nitrogen, that rain is happening over a period of time, right? So you're going to want to use 1/2 inch drip line with emitters. They make emitter spacing can be 6 inches, 12 inches, 18 inches, even 24 inches. All right. I'm going to do a quick little setup for y'all. I think we have enough time. And this is right here. I didn't really talk about this. This is an irrigation box. This irrigation box is going to hold the control valve. So the control valve would live in here. I'm not going to dump it over. There's a whole bunch of stuff in it, but it would be flipped. And then the control valve would sit underneath it. And you'd be able to take the top off. And I'll show you that in just a moment. And you'd be able to check your control valves if there was ever a leak, anything like that. Because you want to be able to access these, because over time they will need to be replaced. There could be a leak. The solenoid could go out. You're going to have to be able to work with it. And this box gives you that opportunity. Move this to the side. Okay. So one more piece is also this poly tubing, a black poly tubing. It's very similar to the drip emitter, but it has no holes. So that means this is going to allow you to route water wherever you need to get the water. All right. So what we've done is we routed it from that irrigation box right there. We routed it up into here. All right. So now it's popped out, and I have this piece right here that we're going to connect into. So what I need is an elbow, 90-degree elbow that I'll pop on here like that. Now, this elbow, and this is like a little intricacy, is not the right elbow. This is for probably 5/8, and then this is 1/2. So even though this is 4/8 and this is 5/8, the compression fitting isn't going to work as well as it should. All right. But for purpose sake, I'll just keep it on here for now. But that's something to take into consideration. Not every brand works with every brand. Y'all know how corporate America likes to do it. They don't want it to be a universal product. They want you to buy their brand. So there's Rainbird, there's Orbit, there's Mr. Landscaper. Those are a few. All right. So I got these two on there. And then the next step would be to connect this on the inside. Now, there's an emitter right here. You cannot put the emitter in the compression fitting. So I'm going to cut that off. All right. That's not going to work. And we'll just go ahead. It'd be better if you had a knife or a PVC cutter, would be very good. All right. So put this in right here. See, that's how it should fit. It shouldn't just slide on. It should take a little bit of work to get it in there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Again, there's not an emitter here, but there's a little bit of a hole. So you need to cut that off. It needs to be nice and flush all the way around. So I'll cut that off as well. Ah, my finger, just kidding. Got to keep y'all on your toes. All right. So pop that in. That's how it should fit. Nice and flush. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. It doesn't need to go all the way to the end of the bed. All right. So right here, this is a cap. Okay. This cap opens up. The reason I'm putting a cap on it instead of making it a full circuit is because you're going to need to flush your lines every once in a while. The debris and sediment could possibly accumulate in these pipes. And so you're going to need to open it up, flush the system, release any buildup, and then you can recap it. Okay. So That's why I use caps. Put one on here, good to go. We'll do the same thing on this one right here. All right, go ahead and right there. Another cap, make sure it's nice and tight. Pop it on. Okay, that's 2. And I'm gonna do one more. One more. This is a T. So you've seen elbows, you've seen T's, you've seen caps, you've seen pressure regulators, you've seen timers. I'm gonna do it on this side because this is the right size. All right, so this is a different fitting. So instead of a compression fitting, this is fits on the inside, and these are almost universal actually. All right, fit it on the inside, twist it a little bit, you get a good fit. Same thing. Press it in, twist it a little bit, and then we'll get a little bit of this right here. Pop it in, twist it as well. All right, come right here, cut it off. One more time. Twist the cap, cap it. And then the last piece, and so you can see how that's curved. Sometimes you have to rotate it a little bit. They come in rolls, 50-foot rolls, 100-foot rolls. You can unwind the roll, let it sit in the sun for 24 hours, and then it'll be straight for you. Take these stakes, landscape staples. Pop it down in there. And when you go to like Lowe's or Home Depot, they sell these little baby landscape staples. You really want to get these nice heavy duty ones. You can order them online, or you can go to a landscape store. Locally is Ewing Irrigation Supply. They're going to give you the heavy duty stuff that's really going to sit in there versus the light duty residential. All right, pop it in there, pop it in there, pop it in there. All right, so now we're good. And just for good sake, we'll put in a couple more. Never hurts. All right, and that's it. Okay, so now if I could get you to get the camera real quick, come on this way, y'all. You can undo that. Yeah, I'm gonna turn it on for y'all. So again, this is the irrigation box right here. It sits like that, and it protects. People can walk on it. You don't have to worry about anybody tripping. And then you'll take that off, and inside, come a little closer, we have this timer. Now, I haven't used this timer before. This is my first time. It's an Orbit, and I got it because it's supposed to be waterproof casing. This is a low water spot, so sometimes when it rains, water will build up. But I can pop that off right there. You can see that I have different settings, so I can set the time. I can set my start date, so it's going to start at 5:15. I can set how often, the interval, and then I can set the duration, 30. On. I'm going to pop this back here. All right, and let's go check it out, the system that we just set up. Let's see here if we're getting anything. And so we have irrigation all throughout the garden. That usually has to happen is everything in the water in the garden will get irrigated, and then the pressure will finally make its way back here. So I'm starting to see some drippage. Okay, I'm seeing drippage here. I'm seeing drippage here. That's what we want. All right. And again, we can open up these lines. We're seeing some here. We're seeing some here. What can happen is sometimes these lines can get clogged with the calcium in our water. So we're getting a little bit of drippage here, and we should see these last few dripping. So that's what you want to see, y'all. When you install this irrigation, it just makes life so much easier. Let's work smarter, not harder. We're in the 21st century. I encourage y'all to check out our YouTube channel where you can actually see an installation of this as well. And then there's a lot of great organizations out there. Like I said, Orbit is a good one. And then locally, my professor from Palo Alto College, Leo's Lawn Care. You can check them out on Facebook as well. They're a really good and trusted company. All right, y'all. Until next time.